We're going to answer two questions here today. Is it really better to be late than never? And is Lexus's first dedicated electric vehicle the real deal? Now, some car companies place a lot of stock in being first to market. Not Lexus, as this RZ demonstrates. It's following some years behind rivals like the Audi e-tron, BMW iX and Mercedes EQC. But when Lexus gets around to doing something, it usually does it very well. Is that the case with the all-new RZ? We're going to find out. This is not Lexus's first EV. That honour goes to the small Lexus UX300e launched in late 2021. But it won't be Lexus's last EV either. Lexus is aiming for a fully electrified version of every model it sells by 2030 and phasing out internal combustion altogether by 2035. Now, Lexus will offer two versions of this car initially. The RZ450 Luxury priced at $123 grand and the Sport Luxury priced at $135,000. Now, straight away you can see that it is a Lexus in terms of styling. That spindle grille is something of a calling card, and it uses that queue right along the flanks to the back of the car. This is the Sport Luxury here, so we've actually got active LED headlights with cornering function. The base model just has passive LED headlights. The base model has 18-inch wheels, but we've got 20-inch wheels on this upper spec car. Lexus says the RZ is classed as a medium SUV, but its exterior dimensions are more befitting of a large SUV. In fact, it's not that much smaller than a Toyota Kluger full-size 7-seat SUV, and it casts a bigger shadow than the Lexus RX large luxury SUV. And as we'll soon see, those immense dimensions yield a lot of interior space. Now, first impressions of this Lexus RZ interior is that it is befitting of a car with a six-figure price tag. Lexus makes a lot of the fact that this interior is vegan friendly. So on the base model you get faux leather that's called New Lux, and on this upper spec we have ultra suede with faux leather trim around the outside. Both front seats are heated and both are electrically adjustable, as is the steering wheel as well. At the center of it all, Lexus's new generation 14-inch infotainment touchscreen, and it has all the usual gadgets and gizmos, including satellite navigation, digital radio and smartphone mirroring. It's wired for Android Auto through one of 3 USB points, but Apple CarPlay is wireless, and of course the obligatory wireless charger. Now, in terms of practicality in here, a couple of cup holders, some door pockets as well. We also have this really handy storage underneath here and an armrest that opens both ways, but what we don't have is a glove box. Now, here we are in the second row of the Lexus RZ, and straight away I think you can see this is a very spacious back seat. This is my driving position, and look at the amount of knee room I've got here. Under-seat footroom is quite good as well, and headroom is not bad. As for the seat itself, it's quite comfortably reclined, so it's a really relaxed vibe back here. Soft too, nice and plush, and both outboard seats are heated. In terms of the other mod cons we've got, we have 2 USB ports down here, and we also have 2 air vents plus a 12-volt charger. The coup de grace of the interior though has to be this double pane sunroof. It is expansive, it really brings the outside in, and it's got some electric magic that at the touch of a button clouds over and cuts the sun out. The electric dimming sunroof is a standard on Sports Luxury along with 13-speaker Mark Levinson sound system. What's missing, however, are climate controls for backseat occupants. And now to the boot. Now, on the RZ, it's an electric opening tailgate, which is a nice to have feature, giving you access to 522 litres of space. Now, you can expand that by folding the rear seat, but it is a bit of a stretch to give you 1,451 litres. There's even more space underneath the floor for things like your charging cable and also the stuff you'd normally keep in the glove box. All right, enough of that. Let's see how she drives. We're on the move now, and I can tell you it is nice and quiet in the cabin, and the ride is pretty decent as well, although some of the road irregularities do kind of thump through. Lexus says this car is a bit more dynamic. They really bang on about driving involvement and driver pleasure in their new generation cars. It's something they've lacked in the past, and it's definitely an area of improvement, but I don't think they're up to the standards of some of their competitors. And before I go into too much detail of that, let me rewind and give you the basics. We've got Lexus's direct 4 all-wheel drive system underneath, and that's basically driven by 2 electric motors, one at the front axle producing 150 kilowatts and one at the rear which produces 80 kilowatts. Now, if you think about that, that seems like a bit of a strange decision to prioritize front drive over rear wheel drive, particularly in an electric vehicle and all new dedicated EV platform, where really they could have put any size electric motor at the rear and a smaller one at the front. As to why they've done that, I really can't tell you. Lexus said it's about driver involvement, but front drive has never spoken to me as a driver involvement kind of setup. Rear drive bias is what you would have expected. How does it manifest in the real world? Does this car feel underwhelming to drive? No, it feels absolutely fine. And one thing it doesn't do as well as perhaps it should is driving range. Now, I know it's an EV and I'm talking about driving range. You're probably thinking, here we go again with range anxiety. I'm really not. This vehicle has a claimed range of 400 kilometers. That's more than pretty much anyone needs in a typical day of driving. But the problem is that the BMW iX3 offers 460 kilometers of driving range. So Lexus is playing catch up in that regard. They've launched a car on an all-new platform with a 71.4 kilowatt hour battery pack that doesn't have the driving range of its nearest rival. That's a bit of an oversight. Lexus would probably prefer we compare this RZ to the BMW iX, which is a larger and more expensive luxury 5-seat sibling to the 110 grand BMW iX3. BMW's iX pricing starts north of $142,000 though, so it's really not a fair comparison either way with this 123 grand Lexus. The only thing we know for sure is that if somebody's coming into a Lexus showroom to look at the RZ, they've definitely got 130 grand in their pocket, which means they can afford the iX3, but maybe not the bigger iX. The Lexus RZ is more powerful than the iX3, but not as powerful as the iX, nor does it have the battery range to match either. One area where Lexus is clearly hunting BMW is in the driving dynamics department. They really do go on about mimicking the horse and rider relationship of car and driver. This Lexus RZ has a number of driving modes, as you get with most cars these days. One of them is comfort, one of them is sport. Sport gives you a bit more response from the throttle, it puts a bit more weight behind the electric steering, so you can have a bit more fun. But remember, this is a sports luxury SUV. It's not a Mazda MX-5 or a Toyota GR86 for that matter. But still, it's enough to feel like you've got a bit more of a lively vehicle under your foot. How fast is it? Lexus claims it'll do 0 to 100 in 5.3 seconds. Honestly, it doesn't feel that fast to me. It feels more like a 6-second car, but I'm measuring that with my butt, not with any scientific equipment, so take that however you want. It also has a couple of modes of regeneration, so it can increase the brake energy regeneration you're harvesting or decrease it so you get more of a coasting feel. Really up to the driver how you want to do that. I mean, if you have an electric vehicle, it would make sense to me to be harvesting as much energy as you can, as often as you can, and the side benefit is you reduce the impact on your brakes. Now, there's 2 other areas with this car where I think Lexus could have done a bit better. The first is its turning circle. It's a medium SUV, but it does have a wheelbase identical to the RX large SUV. So the turning circle is actually wider than I would have expected of a car like this. The second has to do with its charging. So Lexus promises an 11 kilowatt AC charge, but only 150 kilowatts of DC fast charging. Now, you remember I talked about the BMW iX3, that also only has 150 kilowatts. But both of those figures trail the current luxury champ Genesis, which offers 350 kilowatt charging. so twice as fast. For an all-new Toyota platform, that seems like catch-up rather than setting new standards.
And therein lies the RZ's biggest problem. In every regard, it feels like Lexus is playing catch-up. One of the advantages of arriving late to a party is you can see what everyone else did and you can up the ante. Lexus hasn't really done this. The technology on this all-new dedicated EV platform falls short of contemporary standards in key areas. First, driving range and recharging speeds. Second, vehicle autonomy. Take safety, for example. This car has blind spot monitoring and rear cross-traffic alert, but neither system can actively assist. Still, there is a lot to like in the Lexus RZ.
In terms of how it does what it does, it is a luxurious vehicle to drive. It is a quiet vehicle to drive. It has acres of room in here, a lot more than I can think of from any comparable medium luxury SUV. Does it have the gear to justify $123,000, or in this instance $135,000 plus on roads, which is probably going to put you near 150 grand? No, I don't think it does. And I think in that regard, its biggest rival is not just BMW, Audi and Mercedes, but also the Lexus RX500h from the same Lexus showroom. That is a bigger car again, admittedly a large SUV, and it is not a dedicated electric vehicle, it is just a hybrid. But it has more performance, it has more equipment, it has even more space inside, and it's almost the same price. In fact, it's cheaper than this sport luxury spec. So that's a bit of a conundrum, but I freely admit that some people are in the market for EVs and they won't cross-shop the RX. But anyone who's buying with their head would be nuts not to, especially since the RX is also all new and was launched just as recently as a couple of months ago. So it has everything this car can offer except for zero emission driving. But really, if we're being fair and just comparing this car to the Audi e-tron, the Mercedes EQC and the BMW iX3, then I suppose in two of those three cases it's kind of on or around the money. The big problem is that the BMW iX3 costs $20,000 less than the Lexus RZ450e luxury and sport luxury. That's a lot of money to put towards servicing costs, charging, insurance, registration, all those other things that you're going to have to pay for with a new car.
Even if we put specific rivals aside and just look at the EV landscape, this Lexus RZ is not arriving with a bang. It doesn't have any whiz-bangery that the others don't already have, and it doesn't set new standards in any particular area. So is this a case that Lexus hasn't taken advantage of being better late than never? That's right. In fact, it feels more like too little too late. But then perhaps that's Lexus's sweet spot. Don't worry about being first with whatever you do, just make sure you do it well. But is that enough?
Is the Lexus RZ $20,000 better than the BMW iX3? From my memory of the BMW, the answer is probably no, but really until we do a back-to-back, I'm not 100% sure. But I have enough reservations to suggest that this Lexus may not be better late than never if Lexus is only going to play catch-up. Now, if you disagree with me in any way, that's your right. Why don't you tell me about it in the comments below and let's have a chat about where you think I've misunderstood this car. If you've liked the video, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Can you hit the like button so that my boss can see that I'm doing a good job as well? And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to Drive's YouTube channel so that when we drive new cars, you hear about it first.